What's up guys, it's Saiyan here coming at you with another Warhammer 40k Conquest deck profile. Gonna be honest with you guys, the Battle of Borders has nearly been a year ago now and I'm itching to play. So I've taken out the cards, started to look at deck ideas. I ended up looking at Commander Starblaze, one of, well, 3 decks, maybe 4 decks I have in a pipeline. Hopefully I'll be able to trickle them slowly onto the channel as we go on. But let's look at Commander Starblaze here. Well, he kind of breaks the deck building chart a little bit. Normally, Tau can be paired up with Eldar or Space Marines, not necessarily just Dark Angels, but Space Marines faction. However, Starblaze says, screw all that. You can actually pair up with the military, the Royal Guard, the Astra Militarum. So what that basically means for us is that we can start to look at some other pairings when we look at deck building. There are a couple of specific cards that I think shine pretty well in this deck. We're going to have a look at those in a second, but let's just finish off looking at Starblaze here. So not only does he give us the ability to use Astra Militarum, he also has a reaction. After this warlord commits to a planet, move one Astra Militarum unit you control from an adjacent planet to this one. So he basically brings one of the guys with him. He's a 2/6, starts with 7 cards and 7 resources, and if bloodied, he's a 2/5. Now 2/5 is actually not too bad because you still have the same punching power, but of course he's a bit fragile. Only 11 health altogether. And this is definitely one of those warlords that you probably want to take into the battle. But kind of leaves it up to you. If you want to use that reaction, then probably worthwhile, obviously including this guy, but he could also just pull a command unit with himself and pretty much guarantee you command wins when he turns up, and he can bring one of the many double hammer units with himself. Then you're going to be guaranteed to take resources. Now the deck is designed in a way that we can run on a very low curve, very low kind of resource requirement, but we still want to be able to draw cards. So we are predominantly going to be aiming for planets where we can draw cards. That's pretty much all there to know about Starblaze. And then let's look at the units first. And of course, his signature units are kind of blended in with the rest of the deck. So I'm going to highlight if it's a signature unit, just so you guys know why there's maybe just the 1 copy or maybe 4 copies of the ardent auxiliaries. But we'll leave him here on the side. And we're going to start with the probably most intriguing part of the deck, just the amount of access we get to double hammer units. Of course, playing Tau, Recon Drone is pretty much an auto include. A zero cost unit that's got 2 hammers is amazing. Yes, it's limited. No, it doesn't really matter because we don't really run any other. In fact, we don't really run any other limited units. So, play once a turn if you can, and you're always gonna have a grin on your face when you can drop a recon drone, and it just scoops up your opponent's extra resources that they would get from any planet. It's particularly spicy used against rogue traders and void pirates. So this is a 3 of 2 hammer, and then we have a 2 of sanction psyker here. Really big, but that 4 health is really good on this unit. I like that a lot. But we can also get the sanction psyker to actually do some work because we have Tau. We have access to a couple of equipment that can be really cool on this guy, or well, basically any of our guys. We're a very unit heavy deck, by the way. Again, a staple for Tau, Vashia Trailblazer. This is a 2 cost, but we get 1 extra power compared to the recon drone, so we can actually deal some damage without any other attachments. And we got that mobile keyword there, which is super important with the Vasya Trailblazer. In fact, Vasya Trailblazer is pretty much, again, an auto-include for most, if not all, Tau builds. And not just Tau builds, but also any deck that allows a player to include Tau, because this is not even a loyal unit. So this is 8 double hammer units, and we round this up to a nice 11 with 3 copies of the Iron Guard recruits. Very similar to that Sanction Psyker with the 2-star, with the 2 cost, with the 2 hammer cost. I don't know why I said star. But this has a power of 1. So again, without any equipment, we can already technically chip away, take down our opponent's little command units that maybe just have the 1 health, which again can be really useful. So we immediately have 11 double hammer units. I think that's one of the main advantages of running Starblaze. Now, obviously you could run the remaining Sanction Psyker. I kind of felt that 11 hopefully is enough. You're probably gonna draw into 1, maybe 2 at least at the beginning of the game, and that should hopefully give you a bit of an advantage in just not having to worry about your opponent coming at you with their Void Pirates and Rogue Traders, as I said before. Now, we don't actually run them. That's one of the crazy things. I thought I kind of want all the units to be double hammers, so we're almost guaranteed to take the resources that are on the planets that we go for. And also remember, Sanction Psyker and the Iron Guard recruits can be sort of pulled around with wherever Starblaze goes, as long as they're on an adjacent planet. Now, another advantage to running many of these 2-cost double hammer units is staging ground. Staging ground is a location, and you can have up to 3 of it in play. It is not a relic. It also doesn't have the limited factor that we saw on the recon drone, which means if we get a staging ground down, then basically once a turn we can pump out one of these 2 or lower cost units for free. Well, you say free obviously with an initial 1 investment, but the staging ground should allow us to again just turn any of those cards that we draw up, hopefully by winning commands on planets where there is a card draw, into actual units, cheap units. This will be completed with Starblaze's Outpost. This is the first card we're looking at from Starblaze's signature cards. This is a one-off card in the deck. Allocation again, exhaust this support and return an Astra Militarum arm unit at a planet to your hand to put a Tau unit with equal or lower printed cost into play from your hand at the same planet. So it kind of does something similar to Staging Ground, but here instead we can pick up a unit, particularly good if we got like injured Astra Militarum units down. We can pick them up, then they come back refreshed. But we can put down a Tau unit, so we can get into a lot of nice little switcheroos with Starblaze's Outpost, and it allows us to heal our Astra Militarum units. And there is one particular Astra Militarum unit we're running the Standard Bearers, and actually 3 of, where this card particularly shines. Running Standard Bearer with a non-Astra Militarum Warlord means that this unit can be deployed with Ambush, which means we can deploy it at action speed at any point we want. And after this unit enters play, ready an army unit you control at this planet. So there are multiple things we can do here. We don't necessarily need to initially deploy the Standard Bearer with the Starblaze's Outpost. But what we can do, of course, is later on during the game, pick the Standard Bearer back up into our hand, and then giving us the replayability to be able to, of course, keep on untapping or readying one of the other army units at the particular planet where we ambush the standard bearers onto. Why is this good? Well, because untapping is readying is always good in this game. Readying is always powerful, especially if you can do that action speed. So that is one of the main reasons. That is one of the main powers where we're looking at exploiting Starblaze's outpost. And as I said about staging grounds is ensuring that we can get many of the cheap units into play. Not the standard bearers, unfortunately. Probably a design choice that these are a 3 cost. It would be very, very, very powerful if we could deploy these guys with the staging grounds. Let's look at our units package just to complete that, because obviously we looked at the standard bearers. Now we're going to look at our ranged package. Another advantage of being able to run Tau and Astra Militarum, surprise surprise, we have access to 2 playsets of a single cost range unit. Understandably, the Viola marksmen are just a little bit better because of the extra health they have, but remember that we just care about it being ranged. We just care about it hopefully being able to get at least one big range damage across to our opponent with the use of course, certain equipment that we prefer a lot when we run a Tau deck. This is not all, because, and this is our 2 most expensive units, but I am also running 2 sniper drone team. I love this card. I love this card so much, but I just feel like it doesn't really necessarily fit into your regular Tau decks. I think it's a little bit too expensive for Shadow Sun. It's definitely too expensive for Onshi. I thought I'm going to give it a go in Starblaze. And so far I think it works really well, because our only expensive cards are the 2 sniper drone team and the 3 standard bearers. We want to be very strategic when and how we play these cards. But also, this again fits the bill of being a 2 hammer card, and it's got a lot of health, very similar to the Sanction Psyker. Mind you, it costs twice as much. But for that 2 extra credit, 2 extra resource, you get a fantastic card. Not only do you get 2 damage with ranged, you then also get another attack off with this guy. After the range skirmish, this unit will ready at the planet. And then of course we can potentially ready it again during the ranged phase with the standard bearers. Potentially, yeah, that's doable. So we could get off like a 5 ranged attack if it's got an ion blaster, then play standard bearer, another 5 ranged attack. I mean, that's enough to kill a warlord. And then even after that, we can go ahead and ready this unit and get another 5 damage in. Mind you, that's obviously taken into account. It's a bit of an overkill situation, but if you can get that off, then you're probably winning the game. So this is our ranged package. This is the main horsepower of the deck. Obviously, so far we looked at a little bit of support stuff, a little bit of combat tricks, but these are the cards that we're looking for to hopefully win the game with. Not the only cards necessarily, but they will certainly help a lot to win the games with, because it is a it's a very strong range package actually. I don't think there are many decks where we can run 8 ranged units. Obviously Tau facilitates that mostly. There was also enough space for 3 copies of Borkon Recruits. If you're really missing your good old Void Pirates or the Merchant, then Rogue Trader, then you can potentially look at taking these Borkon Recruits out. But I think again these are so efficient units and they work so well with Starblaze. Let's say you left one of the Borkon Recruits on planet 3, became planet 2, you now want to go and attack on planet 1, you go there with Starblaze, you pull over the recruits, now you're guaranteed to have a 4-2 unit there. So again, just the fact that Starblaze can move these guys onto the planet where he goes, as long as they're adjacent, that is fantastic. That's very powerful, just immediately granting you 6 attack on that particular planet. So I do like these cards here a lot. And then the signature units of Commander Starblaze are the Ardent Auxiliaries. Now these guys on the surface, they're nothing really not much to write home about. 2 cost, 1 hammer, 2 units. They're okay. Um, but they have a reaction which says after this unit commits to a planet, if you control an Astra Militarum unit at this planet, ready this unit. More readying effects. That's what we care about. That's what we own in. Ranged and as much readying as possible. So we can almost swarm our opponents, and again, if these guys are left out on a planet and they are tabbed, if we can go there. Sorry, I said Starblaze can pull over the recruits. He can't. That's my bad. But what we can do is pull over one of the Astra Militarum units to this planet, and then these will reactivate. So that's what the synergy is. But the Borkon recruits are still a very powerful unit, nevertheless. But again, as I said, you can look at replacing those with one of the sets of the one-cost neutral units. Now, how do we power up our ranged guys? We use gun drones. This is one of the tactics that we can use here. The gun drone can also be played as an army unit, but let's be honest, if you play a gun drone as an army unit, you're probably on your back foot in the game. Gun drones on a ranged unit is a disaster for an opponent to have to face. I particularly like it on the Viola marksman just for that extra health, so you can't be just necessarily pinged with a nasty little deal 1 damage kind of card. Really good against particularly siege deck. Mind you, the gun drones will protect against Warp Storm, so that's definitely a reasonable little thing to have in the deck. Now, for people who are more clever than me, please let me know in the comments below. Is it possible to deploy the gun drones as an attachment drone with the staging ground? I don't think it's possible because they are considered to be an attachment and these deploy units. But you might tell me that actually there is a little corner rule that says you can. I don't think we can, but please let me just confirm if I'm right, or obviously tell me that we can, and then I'll be a happy chap. So gun drones, ranged area effect 2 wins games. That's just straightforward. Particularly great against disgusting Astra Militarum swarm decks. Another signature unit, the Searing Burst Cannon. You can attach this to any unit. This is one of the almost a unique thing. Well, it's not quite a unique thing, but we certainly don't have many signature attachments for a warlord that can be attached to any unit. And it's got interrupt speed. When attached unit damages an enemy unit by an attack, if no shield card was used during this attack, double the damage taken. Now, if our opponent can shield it when you attack with the guy that's got Searing Burst Cannon, and they always will. If they can't shield it, I think it is a really good indicator that they actually don't have shield in their hands, because unless you're going for something that will kill them anyway, then they probably will shield it just so they can obviously deal with the damage. But because we have ready effects, the Searing Burst Cannon can go in for a second swing, and so we can get double duty out of it. I think that's where the Searing Burst Cannon can be good, is that, okay, well, the first time your opponent's definitely gonna shield it, second time maybe not. And even if we can take out one of those massive elite units, Orc has, Chaos has, even the massive elite units that of course the Space Marines have, then that's great. That's absolutely what we want. We want that reach of being able to potentially one hit KO even those massive units. Another staple in Tau, of course, 3 iron rifles. Love this card. It's just so good. For 1 cost you get +3. Well, 1 cost and 1 card out of your hand. You get +3 attack on any of your army units. Again, I love this guy on anything that has ranged, but not just ranged. Literally, again, throw an iron rifle onto the Mordian conscripts. You have a 4-2 attacker, just like the Borkon recruits. And you can throw it on the Sanction Psyker as well. So there's many options where the Iron Rifle can go and do some real damage. And of course, whenever you run Tau and you go in fairly deep into a deck design where you're actually running another factions units as well, then auxiliary armor is absolutely brilliant. This is our first double shield card, and we're actually quite short on the double shield cards. We're only running this in another 3 of. But you can attach again this to an army unit. Attached unit gets +2 attack and +1 health. But if you attach this to a non-Tau unit, it gains 1 command icon as well. So you can drop down auxiliary armor onto the conscripts or the sanction psyker, and you have a 3 hammer unit with extra health, extra attack. Absolutely brilliant. You throw this down onto the rattling Deadeye. Not only is it now a 3 attack 2 health range unit, it is also now a very good contender to take, of course, command from your opponent. And now this combination can most certainly be pulled over to wherever Starblaze goes. Imagine bringing this rattling Deadeye onto where your Starblaze just gone, and you're guaranteed to at least have a chance in the ranged battle, unless of course your opponent does something nasty, which often they will, but at least that gives you the chance to strike before anybody else if your opponent's not currently able to do anything about that. So moving on to actions, I'm running 2 copies of Even the Odds. This would definitely be nice on 3 as well, but even just the potential to throw the Searing Burst Cannon onto another unit. Imagine getting an attack off with a unit on Searing Burst Cannon. Let's say it's on one of your units. Then you're able to drop a Standard Bearer that will untap that unit, and then you can even the odds and throw it onto perhaps the Standard Bearer, who's already done its attack, but now it could then potentially go in for another 4. You can get a lot of nice sneak damage in with these cards. The last 2 cards for the signature cards of Commander Starblaze, we have 2 copies of Bond of Brotherhood. It's not a bad one. I particularly like the area where it gives +2 attack to all the Astra Militarum units at the targeted planet, but it also gives +2 health to the Tau units at the same planet. So you control the planet where you're battling, and you can just absolutely rain hell down with this one particular card. Again, it's one of those ones where you have to be really strategic when you play it, but if you play it at the right time, it can potentially help you to bloody your opponent's warlord. It can help you to win the game. And then finally, last but not least, we have 3 copies of Deception. Needed another double shield card, but also I think this event is fantastic as well. You can only use this during the deploy phases. The deploy action, speed, return a target non-elite army unit to its owner's hand. So what I like to do with this one is just put back the veterans, the Space Marine veterans, the Blood Angels veterans back into your opponent's hand, for example. That can be really annoying. Some decks, of course, will run cards, not many, but some cards will run, cards at that 4 cost slot, just like we do with the Sniper Drone team. This is very effective actually against the Sniper Drone team, but it has another function where again it can allow us to pick back up our own Standard Bearer if we really have to, and then again we can just use that untap or that ready effect next time we drop it with ambush in the middle of the combat. So whilst it can really screw with our opponent's units, anything you can make them pick back up into their hands that's a 3 or a 4 cost is, that you're ahead of the resource game. But even pushing them to pick back up 2 cost units, you at least break even. But again, it's got that multifunctionality. That's something that I'm always looking for with these cards, is be able to reuse Standard Bearer, or again, very similar to, of course, Starblaze's Outpost. we can use it to heal our units. If your sniper drone team is taking a lot of damage, but the battle ends and it's alive on 1 or 2 health and your opponent's not able to do anything about it, next deploy action you pick it back into your hand, and then you basically can redeploy it, hopefully, if you got the money for it. So this is it, guys. This is the Starblaze, Commander Starblaze Tau Astra Militarum deck profile I wanted to bring to you guys today. I hope you've enjoyed this little deck profile, and I will try and cover the other decks that I have also been cooking up for Warhammer 40k Conquest. Up until next time, guys. Bastian signing out. Peace.